Before we begin, if you're drawn to stories that feel a little too real, the kind that stay with you long after the video ends, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because some stories aren't just told, they're experienced, and this one might change the way you see silence, temptation, and the things we convince ourselves we'd never do. His presence reached me before his touch ever did. A shift in the air, a warmth that didn't belong to the room. Then his breath, soft, deliberate, brushing against the back of my neck. I froze. Not out of fear, not out of surprise, but because some part of me recognized it. One of his hands came to rest beside me, pressing lightly against the wall, caging me in without force. The other moved slowly, almost cautiously, tracing upward along my side. There was nothing rushed about it, just enough to acknowledge him. I didn't stop myself. I didn't step away. I didn't say a word. It was as if something inside me had already given permission. Long before this moment ever arrived, the floor beneath my feet was cold, unforgiving against my skin, but everywhere else felt like it was burning. My fingers tightened instinctively around the handle of the dryer. That steady humming machine behind me became the only thing tethering me to reality. A low, constant sound, reliable, unchanging. Unlike everything else happening in that moment, he moved closer, not aggressively, not hesitantly, just intentionally, and I felt it. Every inch of it, the weight of him, the closeness, the undeniable reality that this was happening, and still, I didn't stop it at first. I didn't even understand what I was doing. Or maybe that's not entirely true. Maybe I understood, and just chose not to think about it too deeply. Because thinking meant questioning, and questioning meant stopping, and I wasn't ready to stop, not yet. For years, I had lived inside routines, safe, predictable, necessary routines, folding laundry, packing lunches, setting alarms, remembering appointments, keeping everything together. I used to believe boundaries were firm, solid lines that people either respected or crossed. Simple, clear. But that belief only works in daylight. The quiet, ordinary hours where everything makes sense. In the dark, boundaries blur, they soften, they shift in ways you don't notice until you're already standing on the wrong side of them. He was younger than me, not by enough to make it shocking, but just enough for me to pretend it didn't matter. Just enough for me to create excuses that sounded reasonable in my own head. He wasn't a stranger. That would have been easier. He was family. In a way, my husband's cousin, someone who drifted in and out of our home on weekends, staying in the guest room when work brought him nearby. He was helpful, quiet, respectful, the kind of presence you barely notice, the kind that never causes problems. The kind you trust without thinking twice. But I noticed him, not all at once. Not in some dramatic, undeniable moment. It started small, almost invisible. A glance that lasted a second too long. A compliment that felt heavier than it should have. You look really nice today. Simple words. Harmless, but something about the way he said it lingered, and, instead of brushing it off, I held on to it, carried it with me longer than I should have. Like a secret I didn't want to examine too closely. I was, for one, married, to children, a life that, from the outside, looked stable, complete. No explosive arguments, no obvious cracks, but there was distance, of absence that doesn't announce itself. Weeks would pass, sometimes months, without a touch that meant anything, without a moment that reminded me I was more than just necessary. I stopped counting. After a while, it felt easier that way. I wasn't unloved, but I was unseen, and that difference is sharper than people realize. I wasn't searching for someone else. That's what I told myself, and maybe it was true. What I was really searching for was something I had lost. A version of myself that felt alive, present, wanted, not just needed. And when he looked at me, that version came back. Not completely, not all at once, but enough to make me remember what it felt like. And once you remember something like that, it's hard to forget again. That night in the hallway, it wasn't planned. There were no obvious signals leading up to it. No dramatic tension, no whispered conversations, just proximity silence, and the quiet hum of a machine that didn't care what we were about to do. One moment, I was folding clothes I had already folded twice. He was there, close enough. Turning around, his hand hovered near my side, not touching, just waiting, as if giving me a choice without asking the question out loud. And I made that choice without ever speaking. I leaned back, barely, but it was enough. Afterward, I told myself it was a mistake, that it had just happened, that I would regret it, that guilt would come rushing in and overwhelm everything else. But it didn't. That was the part I wasn't prepared for. I adjusted my clothes, steadying my breath, and walked away. No words, no confrontation, no acknowledgement, and inside me, there was nothing. Not relief, not regret, just silence. A heavy, echoing quiet that felt louder than any emotion I expected to feel. He didn't follow me, didn't call out, was like a moment frozen in time, like something that existed but wasn't meant to be spoken about. The next morning felt normal, almost unsettlingly so. I made coffee the same way I always did, measured everything precisely, stirred absent-mindedly, waited for something to feel different, but nothing did. My husband sat across from me, scrolling through his tablet, reading headlines, drinking his coffee, existing in the same space, but not really with me. To him, nothing had changed. I was still the same person, the one who remembered everything, the one who handled everything, the one who asked nothing, and he never asked why. But for me, everything had shifted, quietly, irreversibly. The hallway replayed in my mind over and over again, not like a mistake, not like something I wanted to erase, but like something I wanted to understand, or maybe relive. And that realization was the most unsettling part of all, because the truth wasn't that it happened. The truth was, I wanted it to happen, and once you admit that to yourself, you can't go back to who you were before. Some choices don't end. They follow you long after the moment is gone. Subscribe, because what happened next changed everything.